What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So one way we can tell we're getting close to E3 season, even though E3 technically isn't happening this year, is if a bunch of random mystery SKUs just happen to appear online, seemingly leaking out plans, at times for different publishers and developers, specifically for the Switch. Now it happens for other platforms as well, but every time we're leading up to like E3 or when we think there's going to be a direct, we always get these random placeholder SKUs that just pop up online, and it's happened once again. We do know some of the publishers though, and that gives us an idea at least to what games could be showing up, so we'll go over that here today. And then also, I want to talk a little bit about Microsoft and their Xbox Series X as they continue to push backwards compatibility as a big feature, and they added some new information to that you're going to want to see. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're going to start today with Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It was a game on the GameCube that I liked. I think it's an underrated Final Fantasy is what I'll say, because at the time, most people didn't really play it because the GameCube wasn't, well, sold. It didn't sell very well. It wasn't widely sold. So while I played it, I know not everyone did, and it is actually a pretty good Final Fantasy. It's a bit different, but I love the co-op aspect. I did not like that we had to buy link cables and Game Boy Advances at times to really get the full experience. I guess it worked out for Nintendo and Square to do it that way with the link cable sales, but yeah, anyway. The remastered is coming out later on this year. Remember, before it was delayed, and I think it was delayed again, but now they announced it on Twitter, also put out a pretty cool trailer on YouTube, and as they say here, it is coming August 27th to the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, iOS, and Android, but they did say that iOS and Android release timing is subject to change, so it appears that they are specifically focusing on the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 currently. Now, what's really cool is they will have enhanced visuals, memorable voiceovers, and cross-platform play. That's a big deal, right? Being able to play Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4, and then I guess iOS and Android thrown in there. That's kind of neat. I just like the idea of the Switch and the PlayStation 4 being able to play across platform with Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I would give it a look. If you missed out on it back in the day on the GameCube, it's great to see a remaster happen so more people can try it out. And as we're approaching June, we have now found out what Stadia will offer for their Pro membership, which these are games that you just have access to. So when you load up Stadia, these will be there if you have the Pro membership option. And they had a full page dedicated to this just for their June arrivals, because there are quite a few of them. It's not like one or two, it's like 5, and they're actually pretty interesting. Here, take a look. We have Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, Panzer Dragoon, Super Hot, Little Nightmares, and Get Packed. That's a pretty good lineup if you just have Pro and it just shows up there for you. Panzer Dragoon, I think, is a good one to check out there. It's not a super long game, but it's still a classic. And then Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, a fighting game. That'll be interesting. But then Super Hot and Little Nightmares, that's pretty good. Like, for Stadia to be just kind of dropping that in on their Pro membership in June. If you have Stadia still for like that free kind of period that they did, and it goes into June, I would check those out and see what you think. Oh, and we're looking forward to a bunch of stuff next week happening, right? Something with Sega, a big announcement there. PlayStation 5 event. Well, we also can now look forward, it seems anyway, with more rumors for EA Motive and what appears to be Star Wars Maverick or Project Maverick. That's something that people have now figured out and deciphered from Jeff Grubb's original like Summer Games Fest. Remember, he put the whole list out, and one of them was like Mel Gibson portrait. It appears to be the Maverick project for Star Wars, as EA Motive did make a Twitter account. Jason Schreier kind of mentioned that, oh, it means they're getting ready for a game announcement. Everyone put the pieces together, and then Jason and Jeff decided to participate in it, and it appears now that Star Wars Maverick is going to be announced at least next week. That could even be something at the EA event later on, where they're going to do their own event like they would at E3 anyway. It's very possible, or it could show up at the PlayStation 5 reveal. So we'll look forward to this EA Motive Star Wars Project Maverick game, because apparently it's going to be a bit different and unique, according to an article Jason Schreier wrote quite a while ago. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with these Switch mystery SKUs that have popped up. Some of them are multiplat, so they'll be on other platforms as well, but they all kind of fall under that Switch category on Amazon, so people started to spot them, and to be honest, I think at this point, most people expect these mystery SKUs to go up basically before any big announcements that we think are going to happen, whether it's a rumor direct or E3. They just appear constantly. So what do we have here? Well, we can take a look. We have this tweet here. This is from Nintendo Alerts, who spotted it. And after going through some of the linked listings that they have, we have come to the conclusion, it seems anyway, to 3 games from Bethesda. That's going to be 1 Switch-only game. 2 of them will be 2 multiplat. So we have 3 games total from Bethesda, 1 Switch-only, 2 multiplats. And then we have 2 games from Square. Both of those are Switch-only. 2 games from Warner Bros. That's 1 Switch-only, 1 multiplat. 2 games from Ubisoft that are 2 multiplat. 1 game from Take-Two. That's multiplat. And then 1 game from Capcom. Now, the Capcom game is pretty interesting because that very well could be a dedicated Monster Hunter game for the Switch. Now, keep in mind, I also want to stress, these placeholders could just be that. They could be placeholders. They could be mistakes by Amazon France. Also very possible, but just looking at what we have here, we have Bethesda, Square, Warner Bros., Ubisoft, and Take-Two along with Capcom just having different games here. Now, Bethesda would be pretty cool because that could be them finally moving Fallout of some kind to the Switch. The Outer Worlds is going to be on the Switch in a few days now, so to have Bethesda then finally show up with like Fallout New Vegas or even Fallout 3 as like a remaster. I guess they could do Fallout 4, but like, I think a lot of people look at New Vegas as the one that most people want, so if they did like a remaster for that and just kind of dropped it on the Switch, that'd be pretty cool. Warner Bros. Is interesting. There's one that's Switch only, and there has been, for quite a while it seems, rumors around Batman, the Arkham collection of some kind going to the Switch, and that would make sense. And you know what? Those are good games, so that'd be great to have on the Switch with its hybrid device, of course, where you can start playing Batman on the go. The other one, to be honest, it could just be a Lego game. I know it's anticlimactic to think that Warner Bros. Would do another Lego game as a multiplat for the Switch, the PS4, and the Xbox, but they do a lot of them. Ubisoft is a little tricky. The 2 multiplat, Just Dance. I mean, I think that's kind of straightforward there. One of those will probably be Just Dance. I don't know if the other one is Gods and Monsters, because that may have already had a listing. That's very possible too, as that's supposed to be going to all platforms. And then we have to move over, of course, to Take-Two. 1 game, multiplat, Bully remastered. Let's do that, right? That's what I would like to see, obviously, something like that. But really, Take-Two has a lot of IPs that they could pull from, but it being multiplat would be neat if it was even like Midnight Club or something. It's the problem I have with Take-Two right now is because GTA Online is so popular, making so much money, they just don't take as many risks as they used to. So realistically, looking at them doing a remaster for multiplat would probably be the safe bet for them. And then on top of that, there are 4 Nintendo related games that are placeholders currently. So let's think. We could have the Super Mario 3D World Deluxe, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and then the Mario Collection. That makes 3, which means there's 1 other game. And that is kind of the question mark here as to what that last one could be. Nintendo could technically show anything, right? And as long as these placeholders, of course, hold up, because these could just be, again, mistakes. But looking at them, they're pretty interesting to kind of speculate on, and we get them quite a bit leading up to these events, and a lot of times, most of them end up getting filled out. So we'll see what we get here, but at least from what we're seeing from Amazon France, a couple things to look forward to. Next up, let's talk about the Xbox Series X as we work towards their July event for all of their first-party games. They said they were going to continue releasing information as we head towards the release of the system, and they have done that. Yesterday, they continue to show off the backwards compatibility of the system. We've even seen where people from Digital Foundry went there, Austin Evans went there, and showcased some of the older games running on the Xbox Series X with Quick Resume, which they go ahead and reinforce here in an update they put out for news.xbox.com. Quick Resume will be in full effect with these older games. Anything, it seems, back to the original Xbox will be enabled to just be jumping around. They said they've tested thousands of games, spent hundreds of thousands of hours doing it, so they've been doing quite a bit of testing here, and there are some interesting ideas. One being resolution, which we've seen. We've seen the Xbox One X, for example, take some original Xbox games, bump the resolution way up, and also the frame rate being steady at 60 frames, but it appears they're going to take it to the next level here with, of course, that higher resolution, but frame rate up to 120 frames, that's a pretty big deal, especially if you have a TV or even a monitor that supports that. That should be pretty exciting to you, especially if you know what like a higher frame rate would look like on a high refresh monitor or TV. That's pretty cool, especially original Xbox games. Knights of the Old Republic's gonna look pretty crazy at 120 frames, right? But it gets even crazier. They also have a setup, it seems, in place to where HDR will be able to be applied to any game that they have as backwards compatible. That would be interesting. And they say it won't have any type of performance hit to that game. So your TV will probably get quite a bit of use even if you're using an original Xbox game with it. And what we're seeing here is Microsoft just pushing and pushing against Sony with their big advantage, which is that they have the ability to support legacy games all the way back to the original Xbox. As of now, we don't know anything about that from Sony, and it's looking more and more likely that the PS5 will just be compatible with PS4 games and whatever ones that they have set up. It seems like they're gonna have pretty much any of the PS4 games that we would want to play, but there won't be any, from what we can tell so far, PS3 games, PS2, PS1, at least not to the degree that Microsoft has here. And hey, I like what Microsoft is doing with their smart delivery and their ability to bring your games forward. Is something I wish that Nintendo would definitely do. How many times have we bought things like Mario 64, for example? Quite a few. But we'll see what Sony has for us going into June with maybe their own smart delivery setup and support for legacy systems and games. I'm not counting on anything before PS4 at this point, but hey, maybe they can surprise us, because right now Microsoft is they're letting them know they can do backwards compatibility all the way back to the original Xbox. Next up, let's talk about a patent that Sony has now made public after filing it in 2018, and that has to do with an attachment for what could be a PlayStation 4 controller or even that DualSense PlayStation 5 controller. The drawings are a little vague, I'll say, and they don't really tell us what system it's for, but we'll go over it here while we take a look at some of the images that you're seeing here, and that is a back attachment for a controller that has wireless charging enabled. Like I said, this was August 24th, 2018, and it's titled "A Wireless Charging Adapter with Game Control Keys for Computer Game Controller." Like I said, very, very vague as to what this would be for, but it recently becoming public May 26, 2020, and being filed at the end of 2018 does make me think that this is kind of going along with that back button attachment that they put out for the PlayStation 4 controller, just to the next level. It's very possible that they had the idea of like wireless charging for it, and then they decided that might cost too much, so let's kind of bring it back a little bit and make it cheaper so that it doesn't cost $50 for this back attachment. But I mean, I like the idea of wireless charging. I have a piece for the PlayStation 4 controller that I use that sits in a dock, and I don't have to plug it in anymore because the micro USB, it's like once you go USB-C, you really don't feel like going back to that. So anything I can figure out to where I don't have to plug in constantly with that, and it's a PS4 controller, so it doesn't last very long necessarily compared to other controllers. I like the idea of that, and honestly, I would probably invest in that as a first-party solution with back macro buttons enabled as well, because the back button attachment they released for the PS4 controller is actually pretty good. So if they have that with a base and it has a wireless charging cradle, I'd be on board with that. And if that's something they have set up for the DualSense, I hope it comes out right around the time of the DualSense, because I'm sure that that's something they wouldn't include because they want to keep the cost down, and that's not something that everyone would benefit from, wireless charging. But I like the idea at least. Here's hoping they decide to release something like that. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Super Nintendo World, which is the theme park under Universal Studios and Nintendo. This is in Japan. They've been building it for quite a while now, and the idea was to have it ready to go for the Tokyo Olympics 2020, which of course, those are postponed, so unfortunately, Super Nintendo World has remained closed and will probably be closed for a while until they figure out how they can get a bunch of people in there with guidelines and everything in effect. But we have had some pictures recently come out, and I have to say, it looks pretty cool. Like, actually looking in there, it's pretty neat. Now it's from perspective, like way up in the air that we wouldn't see when we're at ground level, so it does look a little strange from up top, but you can see the image here. It's super interesting looking. Like, it really does look like a theme park that Nintendo would put together along with Miyamoto and others there and kind of paint this picture of what something could look like out of a Mario game, for example. it's just really neat. And the fact that it's so colorful and pops off the ground from the sky there is pretty cool. Now, this was from an Instagram post that was then pulled down from iMyco02, and then Theme Parks also picked it up there. But you can see pretty much the whole scope of this theme park from the sky level there. And I think this is pretty neat. Now, they're supposed to be bringing this over as well to the US. I believe it's also going to go to Orlando and Hollywood, I think, and then Singapore would be next. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, because from what I'm seeing here, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun to visit. Now, there have been a ton of people who have broken it down piece by piece, and I would check those out if you're interested, but it's just a bit of a heads up. If you've been wondering what's going on with the theme park, there are actually some images out there that are pretty updated to give you an idea of what it looks like. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Boogaloo Jenkins saying, my Sega bet they're starting another useless game streaming service, are under contract to have a limited time exclusive deal with Stadia or something. I don't know if that would shake up the industry like that. Maybe. I mean, maybe some kind of serious exclusivity deal with Stadia would rile up the industry, but I don't know if Sega would even do that. Like, Google would have to write a massive check, and right now they're doing things like getting timed exclusives for like Serious Sam. Like, I don't think they're going after Sega with money like that. But the idea of them doing their own streaming service, which they've tried to do one with, it was like with phones, right? And I don't think it took off as much as they wanted, but what they should do, if they want to do a streaming service, I mean, really go for it. Put this thing everywhere, consoles, PC, phones, make sure it's built out really, really well, has the, right infrastructure, all this stuff set up, ready to go, and call it the Sega Channel. That would be cool, right? I mean, back in the day, Sega Channel, but like, bring that branding back with the mascot, the person holding up what it was like the TV with like the landline and everything. Bring all of that back, even like the old animations. That'd be kind of neat, especially if they did like exclusive games like they did on the Sega Channel. They like Wily Wars and some other things. If they can get some back catalog on there that maybe was never even released, that would get me on board. It's not a bad idea, and hey, next week we'll find out what they have for us. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether there's those mystery SKUs for the Switch alongside of some other platforms, the multi-plat listings. What do you think we have in store for us? Because there are a lot of publishers and developers there to kind of pick from. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of reveals over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and it's exciting stuff. Even though it's not E3 season, it's kind of starting to feel like it now with the PS5 event right around the corner. And then what about the Xbox Series X and how much Microsoft is going in with backwards compatibility? Do you like that you can pretty much play everything back to the original Xbox? Or would you rather maybe them focus less on older games and more on newer ones? Let me know, guys, down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.